Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael World Beef Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 250, the Trey Jemison episode, as the big man with the New York Knicks is currently celebrating as we speak because Jemison, World B, and the rest of Knicks Nation is headed to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Nice hat tip there, Bruce. Good to see you.
Thank you. Congrats to the Knicks. Well. Anyway, carry on.
Yep. World B, I just wanted to roll it out real quickly here. How you feeling here tonight? Episode number 250, and your Knicks are headed to the championship.
It's been a long 27 years, that's for sure. I remember where I was. Bruce and I were both. We were just discussing it before we came on. I was working the NBA Tonight show on ESPN2. That night they clinched against the Indiana Pacers in Game 6 of the 99 Conference Finals. It was a really magical night. It was my best show ever, I think. From his work standpoint. But this was just a tremendous night. It's been a tremendous postseason run, one of the most dominant, impressive postseasons any team has ever had in NBA history.
So, Ross, if we do 3 more shows, which, sounds about right to get to the end of the NBA Finals, show number 253 might be in honor of the Knicks as well, because it'll be their first championship in 53 seasons. So,
wow.
Back pocket for that one, Ross.
Yeah, 253. I have it noted here, and I'm sure World B will make sure I remember that one should that come about. But World B, I got to say, when we went through the predictions here for the Eastern Conference Finals, you said Knicks in 3, and as we talk about Game 4 here, you're pretty much correct. So congrats. I think the 3-game prediction was spot on.
We did our, way back in September or October, I guess, we did our preseason predictions and all this stuff. And we did our over-under on win totals where we thought the team would be over-under. I was absolutely terrible. I think I got 10 out of 30 correct, which I need to work on that. But one of the things I got right, I said the Knicks were going to make the finals. I said they would make it against the Nuggets. But I thought this was their time to make the finals. They made the coaching change. It was controversial to say the least. After Tom Thibodeau took them to the conference finals. And, we talked about it. The only way this looks good, the only way this works out is if they make it to the NBA finals. And, not only did they do it, they just dominated like really nobody else has dominated on their way to the finals. You got to close. You got to finish the deal to make it really worth something. But this run to the NBA finals is really unprecedented in NBA history, never mind Knicks history.
Yeah, it really is. And another thing that we talked about here, pre-show, World B and Bruce, this one is comical to me, is the fact that when the Knicks were going to the NBA Cup in Las Vegas to win that, potentially win that championship, we were making jokes about them hanging a banner for the NBA Cup. Now look at us. Like the joke's on us because they have a chance to legitimately hang the real banner at Madison Square Garden. It's just crazy how much this team has grown as a group since that point in time, even when they were obviously playing good basketball, winning the NBA Cup. But Bruce, they're looking to become the first team to win both the NBA Cup and the championship in the same season.
Wow, it could be a 2-banner season. Well, and look, I don't know. I don't know if the Knicks hang them for conference championships. I know some teams do. I don't know if they do. But anyway, look, more than any other player on the Knicks, I am so happy for Coach Mike Brown. Mm-hmm. No coach in the NBA was under a harsher spotlight than Mike this season. And, the toughest code for any coach to crack is the code of how do I get my team to peak at just the right time? Okay. A coach can't always do that, but, sometimes they can. And the Knicks just absolutely took a battering ram to the record books so far in the playoffs. They have just demolished everything in front of them. What is it now? 11 wins in a row. Okay. And, let's rewind about 10 or 11 months back from where we are right now. After Tom Thibodeau got fired, Brown was like their sixth choice as head coach because it kept getting turned down by teams whose coaches they wanted to interview, but they were under contract, one of whom I believe was Jason Kidd, who, hey, he's available now if anyone's looking for him. But the Knicks totally got lucky because Mike Brown was just waiting for them on a silver platter when all these other ones fell by the wayside and saying, oh, okay, I guess we'll hire Mike Brown. People have heard of him. We know who he is. Well, he's not only one of the best coaches in the league, he's one of the finest human beings in the Hoop family. He deserves every good thing coming his way. And he is, in my opinion, a role model on so many levels. And I just could not be more happy for anybody in the entire Knicks organization than I am for Mike. So, good for them and good for Mike.
Yeah, well said there, Bruce. Obviously, Mike's a friend of the show and someone we certainly have supported throughout his time in Sacramento and now in New York. Wilby, what can you talk about with the job he's done this year, given the circumstances?
Well, the whole thing was they wanted to upgrade their offense. They wanted to be more, more offensive minded, I guess, if you want to say. And he had that pedigree of sorts with Sacramento. We saw how exciting they could be when he had a good roster. And, that a couple of years ago, he pushed the Warriors to 7 games and it was light the beam and all that. I mean, you go back, you can't ask for any more from a team's offense than you're getting from the Knicks right now. I mean, 7 of the last during this 11-game win streak, 8 times they've had an offensive efficiency of 120 or more points. I mean, here's the field goal percentages on each of their last 11 games during this playoff run: 49%, 57%, 59%, 63%, 51%, 50%, 54%, 48%, 52%, 56%, and 49%. That's unbelievable shooting performance. The numbers, we would take the whole show if I were allowed to discuss, break down all their numbers. But, 6 players in their rotation shooting 38% or better from 3. 2 of them are shooting 50% better. 6 of the 10 are shooting 50% or better from the field. It just goes on and on. They are so deep right now, and they're hitting their shots. All of them. There's nobody slumping right now. It's incredible.
They're deep and they're fresh. And that, again, that's Mike Brown. He was the anti-Thibs during the regular season. He gave the guys on the bench opportunities to play meaningful minutes in games that mattered that weren't mop-up minutes. Thibs never did that. And as a result, not only did his starters run on fumes when it came time for the playoffs, but if an injury took place or somebody got in foul trouble and he had to reach onto the bench, he didn't have, somebody like Landry Shamet ready to go. Yeah, he would have had Mitch Robinson and he would have had Miles McBride. He used those guys last year. But a guy like Landry Shamet would have never taken his warm-ups off if Thibs was coaching the team. And look what that guy did.
Yeah, now he's due for a big payday, as Richard Jefferson said on Game 4 broadcast. I think this guy has really served himself well here in the minutes that he's gotten throughout the course of the playoffs so far and has earned himself some money. So kudos to Landry Shamet there. Now, as we look forward here, big question once again here for the New York Knicks is there any type of concern with the layoff that they're about to have? I mean, we're going to talk about the Western Conference Finals here in just a minute, but that's tied at 2-2. So will be any concerns with just the longer layoff, or does it go back to what Bruce just said about the fresher legs, fresher guys heading into the championship?
I think there's reason to be concerned, especially when you go back. They dominated the Sixers in the conference semifinals, had a long break while Cleveland was battling their way through the conference semifinals. And then they come out and they're down 22 in the fourth quarter at MSG, and all look lost there. And ever since then, it's just been complete domination, 44-11 run to finish that game, and basically rally or steal game 1 or whatever you want to call it. And it's really they've cruised since then. It's been an unbelievable run for them. So there absolutely is reason to if you're a Knicks fan or whatever, to be concerned about the timing being off, the layoff infecting him in some way. We'll see how it works out, but maybe starting on the road instead of at home, which is where they'll be no matter where they end up, would be a good thing too. Who the heck knows? But there's reason for concern. But hopefully they can come away with a win. They got to win one on the road, so make it right away.
Yep. Bruce, your thoughts on this, the layoff?
Well, I was concerned about it, and World Beat just kind of covered it. It was like, it kind of came into play at the beginning of game one, but once they kind of got themselves in gear later in the fourth quarter of game one, basically third and fourth quarter of game one, they've just been performing at absolute peak level since then. So, okay, we'll see what happens. I mean, if the other series is going to go at least 6 games, probably 7 at this point, but who knows? So, yes, they're going to have the layoff. They're also going to have a lot of time for the coaching staffs to look at both of the opponents and find the soft spots that they can go after. And look, I think the Knicks will be more than competitive against either of those two teams because their defense right now is just ever so close to the level that OKC plays, which is to say, like, crazy pursuit everywhere you go, no easy shots, fighting over screens, hitting the boards, not turning it over, forcing live ball turnovers. I mean, and their offense has even been better than their defense. So It's hard to look at this team and think anybody should be favored over them. They won't be favored. They won't have the home court. But I could see them beating both of those teams, depending on, good health. And look, OKC's got some health issues that might not allow them to even get past the Spurs at this point. So the Knicks are just sitting pretty.
Yeah.
I think if the Pacers, last year's Pacers, can push OKC to 7 games and be a Tyrese Halliburton torn Achilles away from maybe stealing the title, this Knicks team, in my opinion, is far superior to last year's Pacers team. So they're going to be underdogs, and they probably deserve it. They're 0-2 against OKC in the regular season. They did have the advantage over San Antonio, but still San Antonio out of the West. Whoever comes out of the West will probably be favored. But to Bruce's point, there's no reason, if you're a Knicks fan or whatever, to really feel inferior to any of these teams. It'll be a challenge without question. It'll be their toughest opponent, which it should be when you get to the finals. But there's no reason to think they should in any way be viewed as great underdogs in this finals matchup, whoever it is.
Yeah, the biggest question for me is this: is when the shots aren't falling. I mean, they've been falling all playoffs long. It seems like thus far with the Knicks. But with the defenses that they have coming in the West with the Thunder and the Spurs, how do they respond when they go through a dry spell for a quarter or two? We saw a little bit of that in game one against the Cavaliers, but, I could just see some more extended stretches when you're playing against the elite top West teams. And that's no disrespect to the Cavs or anyone else they've faced, but, it's just a whole different dynamic with a Wemby or an SGA of the Thunder and what, the chaos they create on the defensive end. How they handle that and manage that adversity is going to be huge for New York. And I think they're up for the challenge. Obviously, they have the personnel that can overcome things like that. But that's going to be the biggest thing I'm looking for with whoever they face in the NBA Finals.
And I think New York, look, as much as any team can sort of operate successfully when the other team has Wemby on the floor. I mean, look, Wemby has to worry about Karl Anthony-Towns going out and making some threes. Now, look, Karl Anthony-Towns, if he goes down low, as he kind of got away from in this game 4, I mean, he didn't really spend a lot of time down low, although he did go to the hoop a few times, but he wasn't operating out of that, spot on the floor. If he hits his first 2 threes, guess what? Wemby's going to have to come away from the basket, and then that opens things up for the guys to make their cuts to the basket, for Brunson to penetrate and kick or penetrate and hit an OG cutting to the hoop. I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders right now. And again, if they do play San Antonio, I think, they got enough shot makers where, they could conceivably still beat them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, let's go ahead and talk about those San Antonio Spurs here, Bruce, because Wemby and the Spurs dominated game 4 to even up the best of 7 series. And now when you look at it, Bruce, with this back and forth matchup, each team kind of exchanging blows, this is now a best of 3 series, which was quite crazy. Best of 3 here to get to the NBA Finals to face the Knicks. So who do you have, and do you think Wemby will take down the champs?
Well, I just want to back up to Game 4 for a second here because it was such a weird beginning to that game. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein, of all people, who always tries to play physically against Wemby, scored their first 4 buckets on 4 like kind of floaters from inside, between the foul line and the hoop. And nobody else did much of anything. And I'm thinking to myself, are we looking at the Isaiah Hartenstein game? And then it was like, no, it was just turned out to be the latest installment of the Wemby game, episode number 14 in this year's postseason, the ultimate cheat code in the sport of basketball, a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, logo threes, guarding the paint against the entire other team, right? All 5 of them. He's guarding against all 5 of them, okay? His handles, his passing, his 8-foot wingspan. All I can say is that the basketball gods must love the Spurs. First, David Robinson, then Tim Duncan, now Wemby. The Spurs have had an unbelievable, to use the World B's favorite adjective, an unbelievable run with generational big men for years and years and years and years. It shows no sign of ending anytime soon. So it's just like, God must be a Spurs fan.
He might be. Just might be. World B, what's your thoughts on Game 4 and this series moving forward?
Game 4 is weird when you look at the numbers. During the regular season, there were only 5 cases, regular season and playoffs, where 5 teams won a game despite shooting under 40% from the field, under 30% from 3, and scoring fewer than 105 points. And none of those 5 teams won by double digits. All of them won by single digits. The Spurs won by 21 points and put up those numbers. It was really a weird performance by him. Wemby really, you can't ask for a better leadership role, especially from a young player, than what he gave at the start of Game 4. First 5 minutes, he scored 7 points, had 3 assists, finishes with 11 points in that first quarter. Really establishing himself as present after the Game 3 loss. 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. During the regular season, he only had 1 game where he had those kind of numbers, and he does it when the team needed him most in Game 4. It was just another impressive performance, and they're going to need 2 more of them if they want to get out of this series and move on. They're going to need, they got the big performance out of him in Game 1, the huge performance he had, and now they got another one. They got to figure out a way to get 2 more out of him. And they could end up in the finals again.
Yeah, they could.
OKC could be in big trouble here. I mean, look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was held to just 19 points. Now, we made a huge big deal all season long about his consecutive streak of 20-point games that I can't even remember how many it was. It was a lot. Well, he was held under 20 in one of the earlier playoff games, okay? But that was a game they won by 18 points, and he probably could have gotten to 20 if he really wanted to. He didn't have any realistic shot of getting to 20 on Sunday night, that's for sure. He's only shooting 39.2% overall in the playoffs in the series and 26.7% on threes. I mean, this guy's a plus 50% shooter during the regular season. He's the MVP of the league, all right? The Spurs are absolutely throwing the kitchen sink at him, and he needs J-Dub and A.J. Mitchell badly because the longer those guys are out, the more that those waves of Spurs defenders are just going to keep coming at him and wearing him down, and that's going to be bad news for OKC.
Yeah, let's talk about that bad news here as far as the scoring is concerned, Bruce. OKC's 82 points in Game 4 was the fewest points the Thunder have scored in a playoff game since Game 5 against the Houston Rockets, which happened in the bubble. And, of course, that was a completely different time period, pre-SGA MVP status, and Game 4 also happened to be the first time OKC failed to score 90 points in a game since the last game of the 21-22 season during the regular season when they were actually tanking that last game for draft purposes. So just wild stuff here, and kudos and credit to Wemby, as you already alluded to, defending everything down in the paint and then the rest of their perimeter defenders as well. It's been elite defense all throughout. And one of the biggest reasons why I say, hey, if it is the Spurs, can this red hot Knicks team continue to shoot lights out with the defense such as the Spurs?
By the way, one other player we talk, as if it's 1-on-5 there with Wemby because he's just such a presence there. The return of De'Aaron Fox over the last 2 games of the series has made a huge difference in just keeping the ball from making mistakes, I guess if you want to call it like that. First 2 games, they had 44 turnovers total, the Spurs did. Last 2 games with Fox in the lineup, 28. It's a big difference when you get more possessions, more opportunities for guys like Stephon Castle, guys like Wemby to put the ball in the basket. So the other thing I'll say is we're dumping on the Thunder because they let one get away here. They got dominated. Like, we really don't see them get dominated. But I'll say this, as you mentioned, Ross, this was the first time they've been held under a point per possession in any game all season, regular season or playoffs, and I mean dramatically under point per possession here. But so I would say if you follow their trend, they're not going to get 2 lousy games out of this team. So, and you got 2 of the 3 at home. So I'm not going to discount the the Thunder just yet. It was a lousy performance in game 4, but we don't see the Thunder come up with too many lousy offensive performances back-to-back when SGA is in the lineup. I agree with Bruce. Having Jalen Williams, not having him out of the lineup, AJ Mitchell out of the lineup is a big blow, especially Mitchell since he came in and started in place of Jalen Williams. Now he gets hurt. But as long as SGA is there, I'm not going to count on another lousy performance, at least in Game 5.
No, and those are great points there, Will B, because every time the Thunder have had one of those bad losses, they've always responded thus far this playoff. So I'm expecting a strong comeback in Game 5 for the Thunder. They've really got to come out and punch the Spurs right in the gut from Jump Street. Really, stick it to them and make their presence felt here. Because I will say, if they lose Game 5, I think it's over. I think they have to win Game 5 and respond in order to not have an elimination game 6 and 7. I think that'd be too tough to overcome. This is a team that has proven that I'm not sure they can beat the Spurs 2 times in a row.
All of the postseason awards have been announced so far, except for one, Coach of the Year.
Ooh.
I'm wondering if, Game 6 in San Antonio, if Mitch Johnson is going to hoist that Red Auerbach trophy prior to Game 6 in San Antonio. Because think about it, it's not likely to be Dagnall, okay? He won it last year. And if it was somebody from a team who's already been eliminated, I think it would have been announced by now. But I think, right, if it had been Joe Mazzulla, I think they would have announced it by now. But I think this could be a real, kind of a shining moment for this young coach in San Antonio to get that trophy before Game 6 and then maybe watch his team either tie the series 3-3 or move on to the Western Conference Finals. I think that would be poetic justice, and it would make me very happy because that was my preseason prediction for Coach of the Year was Mitch Johnson. So I'm just humble brag. I know, whatever, but I did predict it. So,
you did. Have it. No, you gotta flex those, Bruce, because it's not every year that you get those right. There you go. Yeah. You had a great year with your early season preseason predictions. And with that said, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come back with the most recent awards that were announced right after this. All right, and we're back here on 48 Minutes, and let's go ahead and discuss the All-NBA teams that were announced over the weekend, and let's do a little bit of a lightning round on each selection. So starting out with the first team, Bruce, we've got Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons.
He is very deserving of his spot on the first team. Led his team to 60 wins, battled hard in the playoffs, turned the ball over a lot. Team came up short, but he needs a little bit more help. And when he gets a little bit more help, they're going to be fine, and he could be a future MVP.
All right, World B.
His ascension year after year continues to be impressive. He, just continues to be one of the premier players in the league. This is not the last time we'll mention his name I believe I'm first team All NBA.
Yep. And for me, with Cade Cunningham, I think their team kind of got exposed in the playoffs. We saw how important he was to their success, and he needs some other help out there because he kind of carried them throughout the regular season as one of the top MVP candidates before he went down with a brutal injury down the stretch. But he deserves first team, absolutely. Next up, we have Luka Doncic. Bruce?
Luka was not deserving of first team NBA this year.
Ooh.
I'm very, very sorry, Luka. Jaylen Brown deserved that spot. Forget the fact that Luka only didn't play 65 games. He appealed and he won his appeal. Okay. I guess the 65 game rule didn't apply to him. Okay. So, okay, fine. This season, as usual, he was a fantasy league MVP. He always is, but he publicly dissed his coach when he came out of a game late in the season. And LA, oh, by the way, did pretty well in the postseason without him. I mean, you knew they weren't going to win anything, but
Sure.
They played really well without him. So Look, once LeBron is gone, I don't think it'll be after, I think he'll play at least one more season, but once he's gone, LA will have a chance to build around him, and then we'll see what he can do as a leader rather than just a performer, because I have my doubts.
All right. Will B?
Oh, geez. League's leading scorer. He also averaged almost 8 rebounds a game, over 8 assists a game. The numbers alone say he's worthy of first team selection. I see Bruce's point about Jaylen Brown. I'd have no problems if the two were flip-flop, but honestly, the numbers alone are worthy of first team All NBA selection to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Will be. They were flip-flopped. I would have had no issues with it whatsoever, but leading the league in points for the season and having the other overall numbers to kind of back that up, fantasy or not, pretty much impressive stuff there by Luka in LA. Now, next up, we probably don't need to spend much time on this guy, Bruce, SGA.
He's now won back-to-back MVPs. He's finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting for 4 years in a row. He's just shy of 28 years old, and Springfield awaits.
Will be.
Yeah, I really don't think there's a world out there where the MVP is not on the first team. So that was a pretty easy choice. Second in the league in scoring. He's one of the guys. He was the most consistent star player from the beginning of the season all the way to the end. He was excellent. And when he sat out few games during the regular season, we saw how much the Thunder really, as much talent as they have, how much they needed the league MVP on there for things to gel. And he was a no-brainer selection.
All right, moving on. The Joker.
Joker is the do-everything beating heart of the Nuggets franchise. If Wemby is the number 1 cheat code in the NBA, then Joker is number 1A.
Will be.
I think he had a triple-double while we started talking about this show. So, he's just a triple-double machine. The one thing we keep talking about, him and the Nuggets, how he doesn't have any help, even though it seems like he has a roster of really solid players, at least a starting 5. But it all seems to go on him, and he always seems to put up the numbers. So, he's one of the premier players in the league, and he has been for years. He will be for at least the next half decade, I would imagine.
Yeah, heart and soul of the Denver Nuggets. Without him, I don't know what they are. They're definitely not a playoff team. He is everything and more to the franchise and one of the faces of the NBA. So not a surprise to see the Joker land back here on the first team. Last but certainly not least, Bruce, Wemby.
He should have won the MVP this year, but, maybe he'll just have to settle for the finals MVP.
Nice. Will be.
Yeah, this is the first, not the first, but one of many he will pick up along the way to his Hall of Fame career, health willing. He was just probably the most dominant player in the league.
Yep. All right, moving on to the second team. Bruce, will start out with your guy, Jaylen Brown.
He was incredible this season. He led a team that many felt was 40-win team at best to 56 wins and the number 2 seed in the East. And no, they had a disappointing playoffs, but it's a regular season award. And from game number 1 through game number 82, he was just he put that team on his back and he carried them to a tremendous regular season.
Will be.
Yeah, there was a point about a quarter of the way through the season I thought he was going to be the MVP of the league. I mean, he was that leading that team so impressively, and he absolutely could make a case for him being first team. Bruce made a pretty solid one, I'd say. I'll say this. On a team like the Celtics that just take nothing but three, half their shots are threes, and the mid-range game is not a part of their offense. Jaylen Brown made the mid-range game a major part of his offense this year. Almost 19% of his scoring came from mid-range jumper, which is very un-Boston-like. But he transformed his game a little bit, and he reaped the benefits of a near MVP or an MVP-type season.
Yeah, he definitely transformed his game. I think he went from upper echelon all-star to a superstar this year. One of the more surprising players in the NBA, leading one of the most surprising teams. So well-deserved there of Jaylen Brown, at least making one of the top two teams here, all-NBA. Next up, Bruce, Jalen Brunson.
Is so good that I wonder if keeping Luka Doncic and letting Brunson walk was the right move for Dallas. Obviously, you had to keep Luka. I get that. But the Brunson burner was lit when he left, and it's been burning brightly ever since, right up until this very moment that we're speaking to you now as the Knicks are in the NBA Finals, and Jalen Brunson is reason number one.
Will be?
Yeah, he's been the leader of this team since he showed up. You look at a lot of points at when the Knicks franchise went from dormant to where they are right now, but it didn't begin necessarily with Jalen Brunson. But boy, he really took them to that next level, and it's been an impressive run since he's come to Madison Square Garden.
Real quickly here, has he already done enough taking the Knicks to the finals this year to have his jersey retired, or is there still more he has to do in order to get his number up in the MSG rafters?
I don't know if there's more that he has to do. I will say this. I do think the next jersey, by the time he's done playing, the next jersey that will hang in the MSG rafters will be Jalen Brunson. It won't be Carmelo Anthony. It won't be Bernard King. It's going to be Jalen Brunson.
Wow. Tremendous honor if that were the case. Bruce, Kevin Durant.
He and Luka kind of had similar seasons. They had great regular season numbers, and then the injuries kind of neutralized their playoff, their ability to do anything in the playoffs. Now, KD can still do it after all these years, and by the time he hangs it up, he'll likely end up either number 2 or number 3 on the all-time scoring list. So, still a super talent at his age, but, Father Time might be catching up to him a little there.
Oh, yeah, definitely is. World B, what do you got on KD?
I think, another typical KD season in terms of just impressive shooting all over the court. I mean, really did not have – you look at his numbers from area on the court. He didn't have a weak spot, and he may be the only player in the league that can say that. He dominated inside. He dominated from the mid-range, which he's legendary at, and he was a solid three-point shooter. The only thing I would say is there's a guy on the third team that I think should have switched places with KD, and we'll get to that. But his numbers are typical KD, excellent shooting numbers.
Yeah,
I know just who he means, and it isn't Jalen Duren.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll have to wait and see. All I got to say on KD is the fact that I was impressed how many minutes he played. The production he had during the regular season. I know it's hard to focus on the regular season given the fact he didn't really show up at all for the Houston Rockets playoff run, but it was a tremendous year for KD and just another feather in his cap for his Hall of Fame career. Next up, Bruce, we've got Kawhi Leonard.
He had a wonderful season. He proved that he was still trouble out there, okay? But this really kind of felt like a last hurrah effort from Kawhi, and it's really going to be tough for him to repeat this. He was fantastic this year. And, it's been said before, we'll see if he can stay healthy, whatever. So we don't really know. But look, guy has won 2 NBA championships, finals MVP twice, going to the Hall of Fame. He showed that he still has it, but I don't expect anything like his season performance this year moving forward. I think this was, it's all downhill from here for him.
Yeah, that could have been peak, right? This year as far as what he provided. But it was good that he had this type of year because, boy, did it help. His play on the court helped us forget about the whole planting tree business before the start of the season. Maybe that was part of the plan. I'm going to play really well this year, so all I can focus on is how exceptional I'm playing and I'm back healthy. And if that was the case, he accomplished it. Wilby, what's your thoughts on Kawhi?
He's always been one of my favorite players. He had, you forget, he's 34, and he's still putting up almost 28 a night. And you look at all the players that average 27 or more points per game this year, he's one of three that shot 50% from the field and 38% from three. The other two, SGA and Joker. I mean, that's nice company to be in. Well-deserved of second-team honors, in my opinion.
And lastly here in the second team here, Bruce, Donovan Mitchell.
Spider is always worth the price of admission. He plays hard. He's always a threat to, as I like to say, go nuclear on a given night. It looked like in Game 4 against the Knicks on Monday night, it looked like he was going to kind of bust out of the gate that way. Couldn't really sustain it, but did his best, just a totally entertaining player to watch. When you're trying to guard that guy, it's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, will be.
Yeah, the Cavs really got exposed in this conference finals. They really have to regroup. We'll have to figure out what they're going to do in the offseason. But Donovan Mitchell certainly gave his all in Game 4 elimination. He's been a solid player since he came to Cleveland. He's one of the big reasons, if not the biggest reason, they have been so competitive in the regular season. He's well-deserved the second-team selection. No issue at all.
All right. To the third team we go, Tyrese Maxey.
I think World B should go first on him.
Okay. World B?
On a team that had so many injury issues and so many problems, he's a guy who went out, led the league in minutes. Never mind scoring 28 a night. He had to take a lot of shots to do it. He one of three players to average 21 or more shots a game. So he really had to carry a lot of the load. We talk about Jaylen Brown having to carry a lot of the load. Well, Tyrese Maxey had to do the same, and to be on the court almost 40 minutes a night, and put up the numbers he put up was pretty impressive.
Maxey is pure adrenaline on the court. He has a gear that very few players can match. Philly is no longer Joel Embiid's team. This is Tyrese Maxey's team.
Well said there, Bruce. All right, World B, Jamal Murray.
I didn't have any problem with him. 25 points a night. He got his first All-Star game selection this year, so it's a real solid season for Jamal Murray. He put up 7 assists along with 25 a night. That's pretty impressive. They're just gonna. It's hard to believe a team with Joker and Jamal Murray couldn't get past round one here, but such was the case.
Bruce?
I mean, Jamal Murray is a great wingman for Joker, and he is a combustible scorer on his own. Some nights he kind of reminds me of Spider, the way he can just go off. And, I mean, he's had a few of those games this year and, very well deserving. So, another great Canadian star, and there are so many in the league right now.
Yeah, he is the Robin to Joker's Batman in Denver, and he's been a long-handed, what's the word? Dependable second guy for the Joker here. I'm at a loss for words how good Jamal Murray is, clearly. But he has been one of the focal points to that offense for quite some time, and glad to see he's getting some recognition here with the third team this year. Now, next up, we've got Jalen Johnson, World B.
This is the guy I thought should have been second-team pick instead of Kevin Durant. I mean, he really broke through and had a major step up in class, as we say as a fan of horse racing. When you see a horse like that take a leap forward in a big race, he stepped up in class and became a legitimate, obviously an all-star. They got rid of Trey Young because they thought this was his time, Jalen Johnson, and he responded. 13 triple doubles this year. Only Joker had more because, like I said, Joker had one, tonight when he wasn't even playing. He's so darn good. But 20 points, 10 boards, almost 8 assists. There's not too many in the league that can put up those numbers. Joker's one. That's about it.
Yep. He's the latest Jalen to excel in the NBA. Right now, there are 9 of them in the league, and he's only the 3rd best right now behind Brunson and Brown, okay? But he is the key guy on a young and improving team, and his best basketball is definitely still in front of him.
Yeah, I've got a fun fact on the Jalen's here at the end of these honors, Bruce, but glad you pointed that out. As for Jalen Johnson, for me, I'm glad he really got his flowers this year, given the season that he had for this Hawks team. He was the main heart and soul to this group, kept them afloat. Every night, it was if they needed scoring, he provided that. If they needed help on the boards, he was doing that as well. And on nights where, C.J. McCollum was either traded away or Trae Young was out injured, he stepped up and was producing and creating for others. So a little bit of everything there. He is the Swiss Army knife, and I think he's just going to continue to grow next year. And next year, I think we'll find him on the second team, will be, and I think you'll get your wish there. Next up, we've got Chet Holmgren. Will be.
Yeah, he talk about a guy who's just getting better and better. I mean, think about this. I know the Thunder are loaded. We all know that. That's why they're in the position they're in or whatever. When he played in 69 games. They were 56-13 when he played. I mean, that's just an absurd record for a player. I get it. He plays with SGA. It helps you your record wise. They outscored opponents by almost 10 points a game when he was on the court, plus minus. Averaged almost 2 blocks a game. Shot 56% from the field. Yeah, he is a offensive, defensive guy. He's as good as there is in the league this side of Wemby.
He's a premier rim protector. He can do a little bit of everything. But every time he goes down to the floor, I worry about him. Is he going to get up? But he was pretty durable, as Welby mentioned, playing 69 regular season games. And look, along with the SGA and J-Dub, they're probably the most dominant big 3 in the sport right now.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least here will be Jalen Duren.
This is the one guy his numbers are great. We made the All-Star team and whatever. I would have liked to have seen a player like Scotty Barnes get to that 3rd team. I think he did enough at both ends of the court to warrant it over somebody like Jalen Duren. But that being said, he put up absolutely solid numbers, 19.5 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. Just a solid performance. So, he shot over 65%, but, and he did it. He only got about less than 12 shots a game, and he was able to be as productive as he was. He really struggled in the postseason. We saw that. Really did not look good in that Cleveland series, but he, in general, for the regular season, he put up solid numbers. I just thought Scotty Barnes overall had a better season.
All right, Bruce.
Well, right now he's the 4th best Jalen in the league behind Brown, Brunson, and Johnson. But he has the potential to rise much higher. He's a young big, but making 3rd team could complicate his next contract negotiation because now he qualifies for the 5-year, $287 million Supermax, which would represent 30% of their salary cap instead of a $239 million max, $48 million less, which would represent 25% of the cap. So the question is, are the Pistons going to be ready to cough up that much money to keep him? Or will his playoff struggles affect the team's thinking? Could be some interesting negotiations between the team and his reps.
Great one to point out there, Bruce, something that we'll have to follow along with there. And one last fun fact I had is 27% of the players with a variation of the name Jalen made an All-NBA team this year. So, Bruce, you pointed it out earlier this year, too. This was another, not a prediction, but just a note that you made. We love the Jalens, and so we're celebrating the Jalens here tonight with the All-NBA team honors.
Hey, by the way, one last thing on this whole All-NBA team. I get that Cade and Luka got their waiver or got their, the injury rule waived for them. Yeah. But Anthony Edwards, how did his get denied? Because that's disappointing because he played in 61 games. If he was allowed, if they waived the rule for him, he surely would have been at the very least 2nd team All NBA, but if not first team. So I was a little disappointed to see the rules waived for Cade and Luka, but Anthony Edwards somehow did not get the same treatment.
Yeah, and something that I think the league has to figure out, because there's that gray area right now, and it doesn't seem to make sense one way or the other there. Now, as far as the NBA all defensive teams, they were also announced here, and first team we have Wemby, Bruce. I mean, what is there to say about this guy? I mean, now that was a no-brainer.
Nothing that hasn't already been said. Next.
Yep. We had Chet, and then we talked about him already. So let's go ahead and get to Ausar Thompson here, because I really like this pick here, Ausar Thompson being first team all defensive, because for any casual NBA fan that might be second-guessing Ausar making this list, just go back to last series when Kenny Atkinson in the post-game press conference said that he literally was forming their offensive game plan around moving the ball away from Ausar Thompson. There's no higher compliment than that, and Ausar was a huge X factor for this Detroit ball club all season long. 10 points a night, nearly 6 boards, 3 assists. Oh, by the way, to go along with 2 steals and a block per game. Quite impressive stuff there from the youngster in Detroit. Anybody have anything to add here on Ausar?
Well, as I mentioned briefly, I think last week's show, he reminds me a little bit of a young Bruce Bowen, who basically turned himself into a 3-and-D legend by locking guys down, which Ausar Thompson is capable of doing, and then mastering the corner 3, which Ausar Thompson should be spending all summer long working on doing. And Ausar, if you're listening out there, you're halfway there. I have Bruce's contact info, so if you want to talk to him about, becoming a 3-and-D legend, reach out on social media at Pure Hoops Bruce. I'll hook you up.
There we go. Will be anything to add, or should we keep it moving here?
Let's keep it moving. He was a solid pick. He's going to be on this team. This will not be his last appearance on All NBA, all defensive team.
All righty. Well, we're going to give you Rudy Gobert first here, Will B.
Another solid season all around. He's one of the great rim protectors this league has had, this generation has had. Another season with over a block a game. This year he added the steal thing. He had a career high in steals, 1.2 a game. So to add to everything else he's got going on, he was pretty solid selection, I'd say.
All right. And Bruce, anything to add on Gobert? I was going to go right to your boy.
Yeah, no, I got a stat for you on Rudy Gobert. Okay.
Oh, let's hear it then. Sorry.
I mean, obviously he remains a valuable defender. He's kind of a throwback to the old days. He has played 1,001 career regular season and playoff games. He has a total of 0 3-pointers made, okay, in 1,001 games in today's NBA. So look, when you think of Rudy Gobert, he's been around so long, you think of him as being like 36, 37 years old. He'll only be 34 at the start of next season. So he could still swat a few more of those shots before he's done. But he is a luxury that very few teams can afford at this point, because he can't stretch the floor, and he never really could.
No. And he's got a lot of miles on that body. I know he's only 34, but the odometer is really getting up there. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Bruce, last on the first team here, your guy, Derrick White.
The indispensable Celtic after the 2 J's, a legendary shot blocker from the guard position, willing to sacrifice personal numbers to be a glue guy. He's never afraid to take a shot. If they hand him a grenade with 1 second left on the shot clock, he'll get something up there, usually at least on the rim. Is it any wonder this guy came up through the San Antonio system?
Nope.
Right?
No. No shock at all. World B?
Just a solid defender all around. His reputation is not taking a hit, certainly, as a great defender. I would have picked someone else as a first team over Derrick White, but that's just me, and we'll get into that when we discuss the second team. But yeah, another solid defensive. He's one of the big reasons why Boston is top 5 in defensive efficiency every season.
All right, let's get to that second team, Bruce. Scotty Barnes.
Toronto's alpha dog. Every team needs one.
Will be.
He's been my pick for first team all defense. I think he added the blocks to his game. He's one of the league leaders in blocks for his size. It's really impressive. he led the league in clutch blocks. He had blocks in the clutch. So he was really to me at both ends of the court. He was really solid, but his defensive performance for a guy his size was really impressive to me. I thought he should have been on the first team.
All right, Bruce, Cason Wallace.
He complements Holmgren's interior defense with some sick perimeter D of his own. I mean, they got locked down. They got a lockdown guy with Cason Wallace.
Will be.
Yeah, I like him too. I think a solid pick here. It's no argument out of me.
All right, moving on to Mr. 83, Bruce Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, he had that 83-point game against a G League All-Star team in Washington this year, which was, kind of impressive. Look, he's a competitor. He's a good representative of that Heat culture. He's and there is no better screen setter in the entire NBA than Bam Adebayo.
Will be.
Yeah, I mean, 10 rebounds a night, over 1 steal a game. He's as good a defender as there is in the middle there in the East there. He's not the tallest guy playing center at 6'9", but he's definitely one of the best defenders in the middle.
All right, next one we have here is pulling out the Uno reverse card. Will be OG Anunoby.
Yeah, no, Mike Brown was complaining. He thought there was, he couldn't believe he didn't make it on the first team. There's a case that you could make for him being on the first team. He gets the toughest guy every night, basically. But second team is a solid spot for him. There's some good players on that first team. It's not the crime of the century that OG Anunoby is on the second team.
All right, Bruce.
His second team teammate, Scotty Barnes, was also his teammate in Toronto for parts of 3 seasons. They're similar in size and style, really. OG won a ring with the Raptors in 2019, and he may win another one with the Knicks this year.
Yeah, really might. All right, Bruce. Last but certainly not least, my guy, the great barrier thief, Dyson Daniels.
He'll be an all-defense fixture for the foreseeable future. He's a 6'7" wing, locks you down, just 23 years old, has 4 seasons under his belt. There will be a spot for him on the first or second team for a good long time.
Will be.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Steals, he's a solid player. One of the top guys in deflections too. Obviously, if you get steals, you're going to get deflections along the way. So he was top 5 in steals, top 5 in deflections. I think we'll be saying this for the next few years, each year at this time.
All right, and without further ado, it's time for final thoughts. 10 minutes since we had final thoughts here, Bruce. So why don't I let you lead us off?
All right. Baxter Holmes of ESPN.com wrote a story over the weekend on how Wemby's most dominant skill is a mystery. Well, it's never been a mystery to me, but what he's talking about is an analytical mystery, which I get, okay? What Wemby does best has not really been measurable with numbers, okay? But when it comes to the old eye test, it's always been obvious. It's called the embarrassment factor. He deters the entire league from scoring near the hoop because he'll swat their shots with ease and make them look like fools. His block shot numbers were the lowest of his 3-year career, down 18% from last season, but he still led the league by a wide margin. So why are those numbers down? Well, nobody even tests him anymore, okay? And while the analytics experts are having a tough time quantifying his superpower, those of us who watch the game instead of spreadsheets can always tell deterrence when we see it.
Nicely done. Will be?
As one of my teams is reaching the NBA Finals, another one of my teams is still looking for a coach. That'd be the Orlando Magic here. And suddenly there are some interesting names that they're throwing out there. We've heard Billy Donovan's name, and potentially he's the favorite. And people keep citing his time with the Florida Gators as a reason, as if that matters at all, what he did in Florida compared to what he would have to do in Orlando. I don't know why that's such a topic, a storyline surrounding him in connection with this job. But suddenly Jeff Van Gundy's name is being talked about. Suddenly Jason Kidd's name is being talked about. So Terry Stotts' name is being talked about. So, and Tom Thibodeau's name is being talked about. So there's a lot of interesting choices out there, and Orlando's going to have to decide, are they going to go the way the Knicks did? The Knicks for years are a great defensive team under Tom Thibodeau, and they decided they had to get more offense, offensively oriented. And they went with Mike Brown, and obviously that has paid off here. The Orlando Magic, for 13 years in a row, were bottom 10 in offensive efficiency. They snapped that streak this season when they finished 18th. There's a banner for you. So how are they going to actually do that? They have a young core, and they're on the cusp of doing something really good, it seems like. And are they going to just stick with a guy like Tibbs and stick with the defense, or are they going to go up tempo, whatever, bring in Jason Kidd or bring in Billy Donovan and try and get an offense to match their excellent defense? They're in an interesting spot here. There's a lot of big names out there, so they have to make the right call this time.
Yeah, vital decision lies ahead here for Orlando and the future of that team. Well done there, World B. As for my final thought, it was a fight night weekend in Las Vegas, NBA edition, as Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson faced off in an MMA fight in Las Vegas. Anyone have any guesses on who came out victorious? Bruce?
Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson?
Yeah.
I would probably guess Lance.
All right. World B, do you have a guess for us?
Well, not a guess. I know who won it. Didn't he win it in about 30 seconds?
He did. It was Lance Stevenson. So kudos to you, Bruce, for getting that one right. He won the match in just a minute into round one after tackling Beasley to the ground and quickly putting him in a tight chokehold, forcing Bees to tap out. So as talented as Michael Beasley is as a basketball player, I'd recommend he stay far away from ever stepping back into an octagon again. As for Lance Stevenson, though, he might have a future in MMA. And it was very interesting to see those two characters, do a little MMA battle and do the whole promotional thing. And I had a lot of fun seeing those two talk that talk until it was time for fight night, and Lance put Bees in his place. So with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everybody.